This is KC Sports Tonight.
Good afternoon, friends, and welcome to the streaming edition of KC Sports Tonight, live from our KCTV5 studios. We got the hustle and bustle of the newsroom right behind us, but Neal Jones and I are focused on the task at hand, which is to talk Kansas City sports.
Neal, is that Timmy sneezing?
I think it would. Bless you.
Timmy the intern, come on, ruins the show. Can we start over?
I don't think.
Or is this live?
No, this is live. There's no rewind. Yeah, if I could stop time and redo, I do a lot of things before catching Timmy sneezing on air.
By the way, thanks for wearing your white shirt, your generic shirt.
It's pink.
I'm wearing
pink.
Channel 5. Oh, it is pink.
It's a little like pinkish
I'm wearing my
colors.
Channel 5 stuff, and you're over there like you're on a bowling team. What's up with that?
Dude, first of all, I'm not bowling in this. Second of all,
you went to Stanford. I don't know what you guys bowled.
I got to do TV in half an hour. I got to look the part, man.
And by the way,
you get on me when I'm not dressed up. You get on me when I am dressed up. I don't know how to win.
Well, you can't. That's the whole point. There were somebody on this show yesterday was casting aspersions, asking questions about why you were in Las Vegas and if this has anything to do with your gambling habit. Or we thought maybe Deion Sanders, and then we find out the former president was there. Were you there with Barack Obama at the basketball game?
I did not know that Barack Obama was even there, so I can firmly deny that allegation. Legal gaming in Las Vegas is not a crime, and I will say that I did partake just a smidge, not a lot, just a smidge, and I was at one of the 2 days of Big 12 Media Day, not the Deion Sanders Day, so we can put that to bed. And we'll come back to that because it was kind of cool being there.
And then you got arrested and couldn't go to the second day,
I couldn't
right?
get to the second day, but I was able to get back for this show. I told them, you can just book me and arraign me quickly because I have KC Sports Tonight, the live stream at 5:30 on Thursday, and here we are.
All that junk that Jared did during the Super Bowl week in Vegas that got us in trouble, they probably put on you because he probably gave him your driver's license.
It's funny because when I got to the airport, there was actually a picture of Jared saying, "Do not let this man back inside the city limits," and now it all makes sense.
What was Vegas like? Because I mean, it was an interesting thing with the USA team, the United States Olympic basketball.
That too. Yeah,
it was pretty neat. And then of course the Big 12 was at the Raiders Stadium, and obviously they wanted to try this because of the new schools coming in. I bet that's really exciting. We'll talk about this moving forward. I just thought Vegas was an exciting place to be over the last week.
We will, and there was a lot of buzz with USA basketball, Team Canada there as well. In fact, not that you care, but since you threw Stanford out there, I got to catch up with my boy Dwight Powell of the Mavericks, who is a 10-year NBA vet, who's a member of Team Canada.
So if you rooted for the foreign team against the United States again?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you did? You let personal and your relationship, and you went against the red, white, and blue. Did you sing "Oh Canada" before the game and refuse to stand during the national anthem?
For the record, that is a good national anthem. It's a really good anthem. Ours is fantastic.
It's good at a hockey game. I don't know about basketball.
Toronto Raptors? No, not feeling it. The former Vancouver Grizzlies, not so much. Okay, so I'll get back to the Big 12 there. But since it's first on our screen, this is a predetermined order of the show.
I can't see the screen.
We cannot stray.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
It says Royals own I-70, and I didn't get to see any of this because I was basically traveling all day yesterday. But this was really cool to see them after the rainout on Tuesday come back, and they basically played the entire series with St. Louis in one day. It was a 2-game series, so they played doubleheader. They win both games on the same day that, the Twins split their doubleheader, the Red Sox lost, the Guardians lost, the Rays lost. I mean, they basically picked up a game or even a game and a half on just about everybody in one day. And since they won the last game of the Colorado series, all of a sudden it's a 3-game win streak on the road, which they haven't done much of this year. So I think yesterday was a really big day for this team.
No, I think that was really great. The first game, Scott, they got down 3-0, and they did nothing on offense. They were getting dominated, but as so often happens, a starter begins to tire, or something happens, or there's a defensive lapse, and the Royals broke through, scored 6 straight runs. It was like really 2 different games. The first half was all Cardinals, and the second half was all Royals. And as you know, if you are going to play a doubleheader, I think it's so much better to play a day-night rather than one that they play back-to-back immediately, because I do think it's a little easier to get your breath, go in, get a shower, get something to eat, sit down and watch some really good KCTV5 television if you're in Kansas City.
The stream.
In the clubhouse.
They're all on their phones.
And then play the evening game. I do think that in talking to people over the years, it's like, you kind of get a reset, and you can – sometimes you have an advantage if you do that, and they were able to do something that's really hard to do in the big leagues, and that is sweep a doubleheader against a decent team.
Let me ask you this, because this is one thing I still don't have quite the feel for. Obviously was not here in '85, but having only been here, now this is my second summer of baseball in Kansas City, I know this is the rival, and I know it's a big deal. How big a deal is it in this day and age when you get Royals versus Cardinals in these interleague games?
I think the interleague baseball aspect of it, I think it's weakened everything. Is in some ways very nice. You get to see the Dodgers come in. You get to go to L.A. You get to see some of the teams you never got to see. But the negative is that it does kind of
waters down the rivalry.
And you do it a lot. Yeah. They play multiple series. I like it. I kind of wish they would do it like over the 4th of July weekend, and everybody plays their rival, and then that's the only interleague baseball you have.
Yeah.
But there's no question that the World Series has been damaged by interleague baseball. There is no longer the difference in umpiring. There is no
it's all bad.
And I don't like it. I'm a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I don't like the extra rounds of playoffs. I like the 162-game regular season to mean something, and I think all too often it does not. But as a you and I have talked about this. As Dodger fans, it's bad because you're the best team, so you don't want an added couple of rounds of playoffs because you just want to get straight to the championship series because you might get knocked off. Right. But if you're a Royals fan, there's no question that the wild card is a massive deal. In 2014, they wouldn't have been in the playoffs had there not been a wild card.
So
let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
We are getting ready to go into a weekend series with the Red Sox at Fenway Park. Mm-hmm. I was up there the year that the Red Sox finally broke through and won their first World Series. Was that 05, right?
It was 04? I think it was 04.
04 or 05. Yeah. I was up there that summer working for a week and got to go in and be at Fenway for 2 or 3 days. I guess it was 2 days with their broadcast crew and TV and radio. And so the Rangers came in, and the Rangers had been in Kansas City, and the Rangers were red hot. They were really playing well. And they got to Boston, and I think they got swept. And they didn't look good. They made a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes for that team. And a couple of the guys from the Red Sox broadcast crew said, this happens. It is Fenway Park. People come in here, and it's sold out. And the crowd comes early. They are on you. If you're an opponent, if you make a mistake, they're all over you. While you're warming up between innings and you just struck out with the bases loaded, they're yelling at you. They have chants that they have out in the outfield, very much like what happens at Yankee Stadium. In fact, they may have stolen it from what they do out at Yankee Stadium when they get on opposing players. He said, teams get up here, and it's a different ball of wax. And I thought to myself, that's Arrowhead. You into Arrowhead, you're not used to a college crowd, a really intense crowd everywhere. And you come in here, and it is a different animal, and it absolutely can get in the heads, especially of offensive players from the other team. And my question to you is, you were on Baseball Tonight. You covered baseball for ESPN. Do you see a Fenway factor, and could it get in the Royals' heads as they go up for this series?
I don't see it, and I have not noticed it over the years at Fenway as much as I have at Yankee Stadium. I think there's something about Yankee Stadium. There's the reverence of players the first time that they go in there, and even subsequent to that first time. I think that there is something about that cathedral of baseball that affects guys a little bit. Certainly the younger players. I haven't seen that as much at the Fenway. You'd make the same argument at Wrigley Field because it's the same mystique and the same vintage and old ballparks and all the history and whatnot. Which is not to say that Fenway isn't a home field advantage. Obviously, the dimensions are very unique between the Monster and Pesky's Pole and everything that goes on, and Sweet Caroline. And there are some traditions there that are super cool. I think players appreciate Fenway as much as any ballpark in America, but I don't know that they fear it. I don't know that there's the same intimidation that there might be at Yankee Stadium. And to that point, astoundingly enough, the Red Sox, who are a good team, and right now, as you see on the screen, they're a half game ahead of the Royals for that last wild card spot. They're 21-24 at home this year. They're under 500 at Fenway Park this year. So, again, small sample size. But to answer your question, I think that the respect is there, but I don't know that there's a fear factor about going to Boston.
I suppose a lot of it has to do with how good you are on the field.
Of
The
course,
Red Sox have traditionally been great, but they have not been great in recent years. And there's a little heat on their front office, a little heat on their management. We've seen some really good managers get bounced there, and it's kind of inexplicable to us here out here in Kansas City. But back there, I mean, it makes perfect sense to them because they expect to be great every year, and it doesn't always happen.
And I will tell you, it's funny that you bring up Red Sox, and you were there in 2004 and 2005 and that era, because that's during my time in Connecticut with ESPN. And the last game that I went to at Fenway, haven't been back since, was in 2004, and Derek Lowe threw a no-hitter. And I thought, you know what? I'm done. Like, I can't that's it. It's not getting any better than that.
You know, Johnny Damon was on that team, and I covered him here, and he was always so great. He's just a great guy. When he was with the Yankees, he came in, and I was doing post-game on the field for the Royals television network, and I told him, I go, look, if you guys win tomorrow night, could I get you to come on and we'll talk about your days in Kansas City? Because he really liked what the Royals were doing. They were starting under Dayton Moore. They were starting to get some stuff together.
Yep.
And so he said, I would love to talk about the Royals because I think people in baseball see what's going on here. Yeah. You don't see it necessarily here, but if you look at their minor league teams, and we see them in spring training a little bit, and he goes, they're doing a lot of good things. So I had him come on, and he absolutely loved his time in Kansas City. He knew he was happy to move on because he wanted to play in the playoffs, and by going to the A's, that wasn't his choice. But when he went to the A's, he had an opportunity to play in the postseason, and then he was with Boston and won the World Series, and then he went to New York, and he said, you know, you kind of. He goes, in my own personal feeling and my parents' feeling and my family's feeling, had I not ever played in the playoffs, something would have been missing, because you're not here for the money, just for the money. You want to do the glorious things, and you can't do that during the regular season very much. So he was thrilled to go, but he loved Kansas City.
Well, it doesn't surprise me that he was excited to come on and talk about the Royals. I think the players are not oblivious to the biggest problem of Major League Baseball. And you love baseball. I love baseball. Jared Kohler, who's making faces off to our left, loves baseball. But the game is broken because of the inequities in the big markets and the small markets. And I still love it. I still follow it. But, man, you know, it does get old, you know, seeing the same, you know, hey, a big-name free agent, you know, Yamamoto coming over from Japan. Right, Shohei Ohtani coming over from Japan. Who are the interested teams? Well, gee, it's the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Phillies. You never hear, you know, big, huge guy coming over. Who's in on him? Oh, the Pirates, the Royals, the Padres. No, right?
Yeah.
And so it's that is the biggest problem that in my mind with the game, that they haven't figured out a way to make this more equitable. And my point is, the players aren't stupid. They're not oblivious to this, and they probably appreciate it. You know, obviously they want their team to win, but I can almost guarantee you, if you talk to a guy on the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Orioles, and say, who would you rather have, you know, in the playoffs this year, the Astros or the Royals? You know, 100%, they're going to say, oh, let the Royals, that'd be a great story. It'd be fun to see some new blood. It's fun to see different guys. So I think that teams enjoy talking up the smaller market clubs because they don't get that national publicity.
One of the Angels players said at the end of that series when they got swept by the Royals that he said, you know what, hand it to them.
Right, and they would rather have it happen to than if it was, oh, God, the Yankees beat us, you know, the Red Sox.
Or even Baltimore.
Yeah.
You know, the feeling was, hey, you know, let them have their chance in the sun.
Exactly.
And so it's not that they were happy to lose, but, you know, the Royals went on a run and got it going and just kind of they just ran through the playoffs. They didn't lose a game until they got the World Series, and then they had to play that cheating band from San Francisco, the Giants, a horrible team. And I'm told that everybody who's ever worked for the Giants television crew
is a terrible person.
Is a terrible person who cheats.
Human being.
And my proof is right here. The guy next to me worked for the Giants, and we all know about him.
Technically for the network, not for the Giants. So maybe
it was called evilpersonified.com network, right?
I think so. I'd have to check's notes. That is correct. All right, let's move on. Let's get back to Vegas now. First of all, you asked me, the vibe was awesome with, you know, Team USA, Team Canada playing hoops, Big 12 Media Days, and, you know, it's Vegas. And, oh, by the way, I arrived on Sunday, and the temperature reached 120 degrees, which was the hottest day in the history of Las Vegas. So I can say I was there for the hottest day ever in Vegas. And then it cooled down to about 116 the rest of the weekend or week that I was there. So that was nice.
Well, but did you have Marlia or myself to carry all your stuff for you like we normally do? Or did you actually have to carry your bag?
No. I had to wheel it. You know, it has wheels, so it wasn't really much of it.
Of course, you probably made your wife carry her bags.
Oh, she was not there.
Your wife didn't go to. She let you go to Vegas?
She hates Vegas. No, I go. A buddy of mine and a college friend of mine. We go every year for a couple days.
Yeah, I try to get that thing with my wife, and I got one of these. No, you're not going.
It was grandfathered in. We were doing this trip long before my wife and I even knew each other, so it was grandfathered in. This discussion was had many years ago.
And so you left your children in Grandview, or wherever it is you live, and to go to Vegas, and your kids are back here in a town you drugged them to without their vote, I assume. I know my kids are still mad at me, and when we adopted them, and they were babies, they were born here, so you would think they'd be happy with it, but no, they would rather live in Las Vegas, or someplace like that.
You know what? My kids were in the basement playing video games, whether I'm home or not. That's not really changing. It's not affecting the math. But all right, so Big 12 Media Day. I was there, as I mentioned at the top, on Tuesday,
day one,
for Kansas State. And it was a cool environment. It was a little strange being back on the field at Allegiant Stadium, because obviously the last time we were on that field, it was the Super Bowl post-game celebration. So it was like a little bit of PTSD, like, oh my God, I got 46 live shots and this and that and the other. It was a pretty chill day. I was actually there on my vacation day. Technically it wasn't a work day, but I did talk to a bunch of the guys. I recorded some stuff for the show. Talked to Avery Johnson, who's an interesting character, not lacking confidence. He basically said to me, I am paraphrasing, but every time I go onto the field, I think that I am the best player who has ever played the game.
That's, I think that's a great attitude.
Right? And that's what you want out of your quarterback. And he was a media darling, no question about it. Everybody was waiting. He was the last Wildcat to come out. But Austin Moore, who's in his 12th year, I think, at Kansas State. He was there, very gracious, eloquent, well-spoken. Talked to Chris Kleiman for a while. It was the Oklahoma State day, so we got to see Mike Gundy and the mullet, and some of the new schools as well. That was weird.
Wasn't Utah there?
Yeah, Utah was there, and it's still odd to me as a longtime Pac-12 guy, covering Big 12 Media Day and seeing Arizona and Arizona State and Colorado, Utah. That will take some getting used to. But I think one of the most interesting topics of discussion was, and this was brought up repeatedly, was the fact, and I think we may have talked about this last week, that K-State picked second in the poll out of 16, which is a lot of respect, and yet not a single Wildcat on the all-conference preseason team, which is pretty remarkable and a fact not lost on the players, I assure you.
The happiest person about that's got to be Chris Kleiman, because he's got this unbelievable thing he can tell his team before their very first conference game against one of these new teams. They can bring this up. I've had to vote on those teams. You've had to vote on these teams. Sometimes you vote with that localitis, and maybe, the people down in Texas, the people who cover Oklahoma State, maybe they're just not familiar with the players. Certainly last year you had guys, and 2 years ago especially, they had guys coming back that you knew were going to be All-America types, like Deuce Vaughn. They got a lot of love.
Right.
And maybe it's just a matter of ignorance rather than, not really knowing what's going on. What do you think about Utah? You've covered them, so you've kind of been around the Utah program. They were in the Pac-12 for the last, 5 years, 7 years?
More than that, more like 12. It was 2010, so 13, 14 years.
So Kyle Whittingham's, his resume, their head coach, is unbelievable. He is not unlike Mike Gundy, not unlike Chris Kleiman in their approach to football. They want to win the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
They really, and they look at tape of each other, and they're like, man, they play football the way it needs to be played. The big guys win up front, and then you can build around that. So I think Utah is going to be fun to watch. They've got that great quarterback who's in his 7th year. Oklahoma State has a 7th-year player playing quarterback for them, and you didn't mishear me, and I'm not drunk. 7 years.
Oh, Miami's got a 9th-year tight end transfer from Oregon. 9.
9. There's no way.
No, 9. Seriously.
Guys, Scott's he's gone completely off the hook. We got to get somebody over here.
I will look up. I can't remember.
9
I'm
years.
blanking on the guy's name, but Miami Hurricanes. Look it up.
I think Tyreek Hill's a 9th-year player. Maybe you got it mixed up with the Dolphins.
Cam McCormick will suit up for the 2024 season, his 9th year of college football eligibility.
Was he in prison or something? And they don't count that the clock stops while you're, or you know what? Seriously, he could have been on a mission, or he could have been on something that they do stop the clock on.
It's a record, obviously. Yeah.
I think I should go down to Miami in December and do a story with him.
So, missed most of his senior year of high school in 2015 with injury. Redshirted at Oregon in 16, injury. Played in 17. Over the next 4 years, played in exactly 3 games. He had a season-ending injury in 18. He kept getting medical red shirts. And then the COVID year, and, before you know it, he hasn't played 5 years of college football.
And I thought about this, and because I do a lot of radio, and people were at, what do you think about 7-year players? And I'm like, you know what? It's a little bit like baseball. You were talking about baseball doesn't have a salary cap. Well, the reason baseball got messed up is they did not do a deal with the players. So the judge did a deal with the players. Well, that's what's happened in college. The NCAA didn't want to cut the players in. They didn't want to let the players decide when they transfer. They wanted to limit their ability to move from team to team. They were going to limit how much time they could, how long they could play. They were really strict. All of the decision making was based on competitive balance, and as a result, the individual's rights just got trampled until a judge said you can't do that. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm not thrilled that guys can transfer and play right away anytime they want. I think that's ridiculous. But I do think it's nice that the kids who have not been paid in the past, or at least not legally paid in the past, they have an opportunity to move whenever they want. And the NCAA bends over backwards to give them extra time. I have no problem with it. It really doesn't. I think I like it.
Yeah. No, and if you're from the student-athlete point of view, I mean, milk it as long as you can. If you're not an NFL prospect, but you're a good enough college player that, you're 25 years old and somebody still wants you to play college football, heck yeah, especially in this day and age when you can get paid for it.
Do you remember Scotty Thurman?
Yeah, of course.
Scotty Thurman played basketball at the University of Arkansas, key player. He hits the big shot that beats Duke in the national championship game. And then some people they go in front of his family, some agents, and said, look, we can get him X number of $1 million if he'll turn pro. He turns pro. He doesn't make any team. He ends up playing in a league in which he rides around in a bus, making very little money. He never played in the NBA. I don't believe. He was short-circuited. Today, Scotty Thurman could cash in with his NIL stuff.
Absolutely.
The local businesses in Arkansas could give him whatever he wanted. He would then be able to get NIL money now directly from the university. So I agree with you. I love the system. There's a reason to stay in college, that extra time. And we've seen it at the University of Kansas. A couple of players have had opportunities to turn pro, did not, because they felt like, look, I can better my game, better my draft status, and I still get some money. It's not like I'm going to be playing at Allen Fieldhouse for free. So I like the rule. I like that rule. I kind of wish they tweaked the transfer rule so that you can't transfer where you get kids playing in 5 schools in 5 years.
Yeah, it's the wild, wild west, no question, college sports. Okay.
Did you see real quick? Yeah. Did you see today or I saw it today, it may have happened yesterday, judges opened the door for the possibility of players being declared employees.
Yeah.
If that happens, everything changes.
Whole other can of worms.
Everything changes. I'm going to go to work for the players as their union rep.
Seriously, well, and that opens up the discussion of now the NIL funds, most of it comes through collectives, right? Because they can't be actually paid by the university, but so they're not. But if that, then all of a sudden maybe it's not collectives, and it has tax implications. For the donors, the big-time donors, a lot of what they give now to these collectives is not tax deductible, but if you did it where it's to the school, you could. So there's so many intricacies about this, and this is going to be an ongoing story, not for months, but for years, I think, before they get it all figured out. We got about 5 minutes left, so I do want to make sure we get to this, partially because, look at that. I got a graphic made. The Kansas non-conference basketball schedule out today, and if you like Blue Bloods, you've come to the right place. You got them playing North Carolina for the first time since the national championship game in 2022. You got them playing.
That's at Allen Fieldhouse.
That's at Allen Fieldhouse. You got them playing Duke in Vegas at the Las Vegas Classic. And, of course, you got the Missouri game, which is on the road this year. You play at Creighton, which is a good road test, obviously, going into that.
Is that a true road game?
That is a true road game.
You mentioned our boss's alma mater, and he's crazy.
I was just getting to and Michigan State.
He's crazy.
And that
about
game's in
Michigan.
Atlanta, by the way, that Michigan State game.
I bet you anything. We have a station in Atlanta. I bet he figures out a way to have to go to a meeting in Atlanta so we can go to that game, get a press pass. It'll probably be under Jared's name so he can act up, and Jared's the one that gets in trouble. That'll be good.
Yeah.
But here's a question for you. How big a deal is this? In the overall scheme of things, we understand that Kansas fans are crazy,
Right.
but I'm going to tell you, let me give you a little lesson. In 07, the 07 football season into the 08 basketball season, and look at those dates. All of those games until December 8th, all of them are potentially during football season if Kansas were to make the Big 12 championship game. So the vast majority of the non-con schedule will be played during football.
Yep.
The year that Kansas was so great in football, 07, they were in the top three with Mizzou, and they played at Arrowhead Stadium. I worked radio with the biggest Kansas basketball fan you've ever seen, a graduate there, and he loved Kansas. He got so caught up in football, he told me, he goes, now I get it. Now I get how, as an OU fan, you really don't care about basketball until the second semester.
Yeah.
And he was really talking about, my heart's not with the basketball team yet. And that was the 08 basketball team that won the national championship, Bill Self's first national championship. And so I think that there are a lot of people in college athletics, administrators, who would like to see the Final Four played in April. March Madness has a great ring to it, but play the Final Four at the end of April instead of the end of March or whatever. And so they can move the schedule back so that there are very few games the first semester.
Right.
You know, you start playing them over Christmas holiday, you know, the tournaments that they have offshore and all that stuff. That's great. But don't really play before that. Maybe play an exhibition game and cut out the November games. Certainly the television ratings are just terrible for college basketball until the second semester anyway.
But the problem is April Madness doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, it doesn't, and you start to get into some. You get into some problems of its own, but there are people looking at it because, as you know, you look at the ratings. The ratings are not what they were. The conference championships aren't what they were. I'm not talking about the tournament. I'm talking about the push to win the league. Here we were all into it because Kansas won 13 in a row or whatever.
Right.
So it was a big story here. But around the country, it was like, no, we're getting excited. When March Madness happens, that's when we become interested.
And the discussion that you are referencing has been going on for not months, not years, but decades, as to how to best serve college basketball, and do we need to get it away from college football for exactly that reason. And nobody's been able to come up with a perfect solution yet, but they will continue to try because obviously there's a lot of money in addition to the fan interest at stake. All right, we got 2 minutes. I just want to mention the fact that this happened because it got done at like 1 a.m. because of the weather delay. But Sporting KC, even with all the disappointment and the negativity and the losses, they're in the semifinals of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. They won last night in extra time. They beat FC Dallas in like the 110th minute. So at least for the moment, Neal, we get some much-needed positivity around sporting, and obviously this Open Cup means something here in Kansas City.
It does. Lamar Hunt's on the trophy, and it does. There's no question. But I think it also means a lot to Dallas. I think that their side knew the same thing, and the ownership down there obviously knows all about Lamar Hunt. I was out there prepared to do post-game. And
How'd that turn out?
And the game was suspended.
Right.
And I called the station and said, guys, they're not going to – this is about 15 after 10. I go, they're not going to start up until after 11 p.m. if they can get it started then. They weren't even sure.
Right.
And the feeling was, well, we don't really care about Scott tomorrow, so come on back. But because you were anchoring today. But the reality is that this is a good win. I think they needed a kick in the seat of the pants, and they have played a little better.
Yeah, they have.
Scott, when you were gone, I don't think you were here last week when they had on Sunday when they had the little issue with Dallas, FC Dallas. They played a match with them, a regular season match, and a Dallas player he was bringing the ball, and he threw it right into the face of a Kansas City player, right into his face, and on purpose. And the Kansas City guy, to his credit, he chest bumped him, but he didn't do anything. But, I mean, everybody ran up there. It was really ugly. And Peter Vermes, after the game, said, I was really glad to see our reaction. We didn't get in a fight. We don't have anybody with a red card. We don't have anybody suspended.
Right.
We don't have half the team suspended. But everybody got over there, and they let him know, hey, that's not cool. And he goes, we need to have a little bit of that. We need to have a little feistiness. We need to push back. And so I maybe they've turned the corner. I'm not sure how good FC Dallas is, but maybe they've turned the corner a little bit. Certainly last year we saw that after they turned the corner, they were a different team. They go on that great run of the postseason, somehow or other upset the upsettable St. Louis team. There was no way they were going to win that series.